Here's what happens when you freeze dry gummy bears. Not really. Let me tell you what happened here. I've always been a person to add time. The queen of added time to the freeze dryer. My freeze dryer has run, well, I would say my pump has run for, I think the max time was 170 hours. I'm not real sure. When taken out of the freeze dryer, gummy bears should look similar to this. Sometimes that's the norm. I like this better. A lot of them will fluff up like that. But this right here, I'm going to say is a direct result of, because they're all Black Forest gummies. Both batches that I did were the Black Forest, but this is just a literal mess. I'm going to say this is because the freeze dryer actually stopped, ran its cycle, was in a holding cycle. And I came along later that night and said, oh man, I can't deal with this tonight. And I just hit more dry time. Which it, just added its time. And when I got to it this morning, it said it had 17 hours left. However, I knew everything was already freeze dried because it had already done the entire cycle. So peeps, apparently you cannot over dry. They look just as fine as normal. And I'm not real sure how this happens or if this has anything to do with it. But this is the order in which the shelves were in the freeze dryer. This was the top shelf. So it seems like only the top shelf got impacted with this grossness here. This was the second shelf. This was third down, and this was the bottom shelf. So, I don't think I've ever really compared weights. I've often wondered about comparing weights as to where their position is in the freeze dryer. I've never really concerned myself with that so much. But in the case of doing something like this, gummy bears and things like that, I guess the position would be important if you're adding time. Now, I've already told you that the gummy bears and the peeps can be done in 20 to 24 hours. So that is just me. And one thing I have always learned, unless you get a freeze dryer that has specific issues from the get-go and things need replaced, usually when there's a failure with a freeze drying food, with freeze drying something, it's usually user error or a learning curve. So even after having my freeze dryer for 5 years, going on 5 years now, there is still a learning curve here for me. So I just wanted to show that to everybody and hope this telephone call does not interrupt